Part 35. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 341. 2 months later, the northwest border of Das-Han Kingdom. Under the scorching sun, a camel caravan was walking on the desolate and rugged mountain path. The caravan's bells were ringing melodiously, and their jingling bells were floating in the wind. It is said to be a camel team, but the things carried in this team are not camels and horses, but centipedes like centipedes. The centipede is like a small train, with a body more than 20 meters long and a back more than 1 meter wide. It is flat and long. One centipede can carry more goods than 10 camels. The centipede climbs over mountains and ridges as if it were walking on flat ground. It is not picky about what it eats. It has a gentle personality and can carry heavy loads. It is really a good helper for carrying things. There are 8 centipedes in this camel team. The people and goods in the camel caravan are all fixed on the back of the centipede. The centipede walks slowly. On the back of a centipede at the back of the team, there was a bamboo chair. There was also a piece of sunshade cloth on the bamboo chair. Xiaopingan sat on the bamboo chair, his body swaying with the centipede. Shaking and swaying, I stared boredly at the same desolate mountain scenery around me. There is a birdcage hanging on the side of the bamboo chair. The birdcage is empty, and the bird inside has flown to nowhere. The surrounding scenery is all earthy yellow rock and soil, with some low thorn bushes and wild grasses on the ground. Wild animals such as rabbits, coyotes, and foxes can occasionally be seen in the wild, but not many. This scenery has lasted for 2 full days in front of Xiaopingan. Originally, Xiaopingan was planning to come by train, but there was too much noise going up to the capital that night. Xiaopingan, who felt something was wrong, got off the train in time when the train stopped at a place called Yatown in the middle of the night to add coal and water. The train travels less than 90 kilometers in 1 hour on the tracks, and buying a ticket is enough. The flying speed of a summoner like him is about 260 kilometers per hour, which is almost 3 times faster than a train. However, flying in the air requires about 80 points of precious divine power per hour. After getting off the train, Xiaopingan used an illusion to hide his figure, and flew wildly in the night for 6 hours until dawn. He was 2,000 kilometers away from the upper capital, and finally arrived in a small town. It later proved that Xiaopingan's decision to get off the train and escape was correct and timely. In the next 2 days, Xiaopingan finally knew what happened in Shangjing that night. The leader of the Blood Demon sect, the demigod ancestor Motion, led the Blood Demon sect's army to raid the capital and fight Baitangzhou. The purpose was to find him. The dominant demon god issued a demon order that anyone who kills Xiaopingan can obtain immortality, and anyone who sacrifices blood to Xiaopingan can condense the divine will to become a god. In just 2 days, Xiaopingan's name, because of a battle between demigods and the demon god's order, has spread throughout the Yuankai world. No matter where Xiaopingan goes, whether he is eating or going to the toilet, he can hear someone saying, talking about their own names. In the following days, Xiaopingan also heard the news that all trains, ships, and airships leaving the capital that day were intercepted and searched by experts from the Blood Demon cult. The Blood Demon cult moved too quickly. If he was still sitting on that train, he might have been intercepted by the Blood Demon cult. The further away from the upper capital, the lower the probability that the masters of the Blood Demon cult can intercept it. At this time, it was no longer the people from the Blood Demon sect who were looking for Xiaopingan, but countless people from the entire Great Shang Kingdom who were looking for Xiaopingan. The Blood Demon sect has issued a reward order, offering a direct reward of 10 million gold coins to anyone who can provide accurate information on Xiaopingan's whereabouts. This huge reward of 10 million gold coins has made the entire Great Shang Kingdom excited. Countless figures in the world, bounty hunters, summoners, people of both black and white, and even ordinary people who dream of getting rich are all looking for Xiaopingan. Xiaopingan's portrait spread quietly throughout the Great Shang Kingdom. Along the way, Xiaopinggan has encountered someone passing by him holding a portrait of himself more than once. Facts have also proved that there are indeed very few people like Baitang Wang Chuan who can see through the Ruyi mask on their faces. Many of those holding Xiaopinggan's portraits did not even stand next to Xiaopinggan. Xiaopinggan recognized the changed face. In the past 2 months, Xiaopinggan changed his means of transportation and route again and again, sometimes by airship, sometimes by train, sometimes by boat, sometimes by flying. His whereabouts were erratic, his route changed, and he acted decisively, and finally got rid of the blood demon section the dragnet contained and hunted him, but no trace of his whereabouts was revealed. Only today did he arrive at the border between the northwest of the Great Shang Kingdom and the Yushan region. Yushan is a mountain range, and it is also a region. Yushan borders the northwest of the Great Shang Kingdom, covering an area of more than 2 million square kilometers. It has always been a chaotic and unruly zone. Beyond the Great Shang Kingdom, Yushan is also bordered by the territory of the northern Demon Wolf clan. To the south of Yushan is the territory of the orcs. Underground in Yushan is the world of underground demonic insects. In the entire Yushan, the most numerous are bandits. Powerful people and all kinds of desperados who fled here from all over the world. Brother, after passing this Lanja mountain, in front of you is the Moon Castle. We can rest at the Moon Castle for one night, and we will go to Yushan tomorrow. Sitting on the bamboo chair in front of Xiaopinggan, a man wearing a sheepskin coat, an old man with a dusty face turned around and said something to Xiaopinggan. Oh, you can rest assured tonight. Xiaopinggan also smiled. This old man is the captain of the camel team, his name is Mu Li. He leads the camel team all year round between Lankai City and Yushan in Fengling Province, northwest of Dashang State. Yushan produces rubies, several highly valuable medicinal materials and high-grade furs. The salt, cloth, tea, and some exquisite utensils from Lankai City are also needed by Yushan. Because of the difference in products, the northwest border of Dashang State is prosperous and diverse. Abnormal trade. The great merchant kingdom had customs, but customs taxes were heavy. Therefore, in order to avoid taxes, various smuggling camel caravans came into being. Xiaopinggan originally wanted to enter Yushan through normal channels, but he found that Dashang State had extremely strict border control over Yushan. There were summoners stationed in the sky, and all people coming and going were inspected, and there were 3 religions and 9 streams around the border. There were too many characters, and all summoners in the sky were focused on. Xiaopinggan didn't know if anyone from the blood demon cult was here, so he found such a camel team, paid a little money, and let the camel team lead the way and follow the camel team into the mountains from the ground. Taking people in and out of Yushan is also one of the camel team's jobs. I don't know how many people enter Yushan this way every year. Xiaopinggan actually hadn't decided where he was going after leaving Shangjing City. He came to Yushan just to avenge Lin Cheng. Wei Zhongxing, the leader of the Yushan branch of the Blood Demon sect, is Xiaopinggan's target this time. Wait until you get revenge. Xiaopinggan is not sure what the specific situation is here in Yushan. Xiaopinggan is not sure whether this revenge action will expose him. He will wait until he comes here to see the situation and adapt accordingly. Brother, I have been running the camel team here for decades. I have seen everyone. You look so polite. You shouldn't come to Yushan. This Yushan is full of people who eat people without spitting out their bones. Here we come. As the journey progressed, Mu Li, the captain of the camel team, suddenly became interested in chatting after taking a few puffs of dry cigarettes, so he started chatting with Xiaopinggan while smoking. The most miserable and difficult thing in the world is actually the word poor. Xiaopinggan sighed and spread his hands. I heard that it is easy to get rich here in Yushan and there are many opportunities. Let me try my luck. Brother, are you a summoner? Well. Xiaopinggan nodded, pretending to be reserved. I can barely protect myself. Ha ha ha, No wonder you are so brave, brother, but if you want to make a fortune, go find Xiaoping'an. Muley, the captain of the camel team, laughed, I still want to make a fortune, but in the end I will just work here all my life. He is the captain of a camel team, and he has to give 60% of the money he earns to his employer. Hey! Xiaoping'an's money is not something ordinary people can earn. Haven't I heard that he has been assassinated in Shangjing City? It has been 2 months. I don't know if he is alive or not. Where can I find it? The money may have already been let others earn. Xiaoping'an spoke about himself in a rude tone and spread his hands. That's right. This news is so true and false that it makes everyone dizzy. We are walking in a camel team just to earn some hard money. As long as we don't meet the robbers. Muley smashed his pipe. Just after he finished speaking, a person suddenly burst out from under the sand in front of him. An arrow suddenly emerged from the sand underground like lightning, and suddenly hit a hunchback wearing leather armor. The team guard shot down from Centipede's back and fell to the ground. Before the guard could struggle, the person who jumped out from under the yellow sand had already pounced on the guard like a hungry wolf, slashing the guard with a sharp knife. On the neck of the guard, the head of the guard was cut open, and the blood spattered the yellow sand. Sand pirates! A guy in the team who was driving a centipede shouted in horror. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 342. To be honest, Xiaoping'an was also shocked. He didn't even realize that there was someone hiding in the ground in front of him. The sand bandits were like venomous snakes hiding underground. They dug a hole in the ground and covered their bodies with earth and rocks. They hid on the road where the camel team passed by. As soon as the camel team appeared, they jumped out of the ground. The sand thief who jumped out from the ground was covered in black cloth from head to toe, and his face was not exposed. Only the eyes of the sand thief seemed to be wearing a wolf head mask inlaid with crystal lenses. On the mask, there are also several breathing copper tubes extending from the lower jaw. It looks wild, murderous, and a bit punk. After the first sand bandit who jumped out of the ground killed the guard of a camel team, he very fiercely slashed at the rider of a camel team next to him with the knife in his hand. There are sand thieves and arrows constantly popping out from the ground, shooting out, sharp, ferocious, and tricky. Each centipede was accompanied by 1 or 2 guards. In the blink of an eye, 5 guards and a camel rider were injured or killed by arrows coming out of the ground, and fell to the ground screaming. There were not many sand bandits who emerged from the ground, only a dozen of them. All the riders and guards in the camel team, including Xiaoping'an, only had more than 20 people. Boom! Gunshots rang out, and a sand thief rushed towards Muley and Xiaoping'an. Muley shot the wolf-headed mask. The wolf-headed mask shattered a hole, and plasma spurted out. The sand thief was not dead, but only wounded. Seeing staggered, shook his head, then screamed strangely, and continued to rush towards Muley and Xiaoping'an. Muley, who had been smoking just now, had a copper-colored revolver in his hand at some point and was firing at the sand bandits. Bang, bang. The revolver in Muley's hand turned and hit the sand bandit twice in the chest, knocking him to the ground. The other camel guards and centipede riders also reacted very quickly. From the moment the first person yelled out the word sand bandit, the guards and riders took out swords and long and short firearms to fight the sand bandits at close range. Stand up. It's just that those sand pirates are strong and fierce, and their skills are far superior to ordinary people. 3 more guards and riders fell, but only 1 sand bandit was shot in the abdomen and fell to the ground. In the blink of an eye, as soon as the 2 sides came into contact, almost a third of the camel team fell, while only 2 of the sand pirates fell. Quickly knocking down a sand bandit with his gun, Muley took out a black iron spoon, put it in his mouth, and blew hard. The iron whistle made a sharp whine. Upon hearing that sound, all the centipedes in the team began to rapidly change their formations, Originally the centipedes were advancing one by one, one after another, and Muley immediately blowing the spoon, the centipedes all curled up into a ball and turned into rings, like walls, protecting all the people in the camel caravan in the middle of the body. Centipedes are huge and move very fast. When these centipedes changed their formations like a conditioned reflex, the two rushing sand thieves were hit by the centipede's huge body. They vomited blood and rolled down the slope. Fall down. Brothers, sand thieves rob goods and never leave anyone alive. If we fight with these sand thieves, we still have a chance. At the critical moment, Muley showed the courage of the captain of the camel team. He roared and fired his pistol one after another. He shot a gun and wounded the arm of a sand thief not far away. Just when Muley finished shooting 6 bullets and was about to change bullets for his pistol, a sand bandit saw the opportunity and jumped up from the ground nimbly, like a wolf, passing through the centipede's defense circle, and suddenly rushed in front of Muley. The defensive formation transformed by the centipede only gave the camel team a little defensive advantage. This advantage was lost in the blink of an eye in front of some quick responsive sand pirates. Go to hell! The sand bandit roared angrily, and slashed Muley's neck with the scimitar in his hand. It's over. Muley's face turned pale. These sand pirates were highly skilled in martial arts. Once they got close, they would be doomed. Then, at this moment, Muley saw an ice pick flying from the side, accurately piercing the wolf head mask on the sand bandit's head, smashing the sand bandit's head into pieces like a watermelon, and his whole body fell backwards. It flew over upside down and hit the ground hard. Muley was overjoyed. He turned around and saw the gentle-looking Xiaopingan raising a hand to face the sand pirate who was flying backwards. Another sand thief screamed and jumped on the centipede's back from the outer circle. The sand thief held a crossbow and pointed it at Muley without thinking. He pulled the trigger towards Muley. The arrow shot towards Muley's chest, but just when it was about to penetrate Muley's body, a light blue water shield appeared in front of Muley, and the arrow was suddenly covered by the water. The shield crouches down. Before the sand thief could take out his scimitar, Xiaopingan rushed over with a strong step. With a long sword in his hand, he pierced the sand thief's chest with one sword, stabbing the sand thief to death on centipede. On the centipede's back, in the next second, Xiaopingan jumped on the centipede's back and threw a fireball, turning a sand bandit who had just chopped down a guard 20 meters away into a burning torch. As soon as Xiaopingan took action, he killed 3 sand bandits in a blink of an eye, turning the situation around almost instantly. Originally, Xiaopingan didn't want to take action. Taking action would increase his chances of exposure. However, in the current situation, it was impossible not to take action, so Xiaopingan had no choice but to take action. Summoner. The remaining sand bandits were shocked, but the remaining guards and riders of the camel team suddenly became energetic. Just when the sand bandits turned around in panic and were about to run away, a guard caught them. Seizing the opportunity, he took out a short rifle with the barrel cut off, shot one sand bandit in the head, and killed another sand bandit. After reacting, Muley shouted at the top of his voice, "Brothers, we have summoners, we are not afraid of them." Muley's mouth was like a light. Just as he yelled this sentence, a huge rustling sound suddenly came from behind a small hill not far away, and then, 1, 2, 3, a large group of sand bandits appeared on top of that hill. There were 200 to 300 of those sand bandits. All of them wore wolf head masks on their heads. They were riding large scorpions more than 3 meters long. They looked at the camels in the middle of the valley with murderous intent. Team. The leading sand bandit was still wearing a suit of armor, and was followed by 2 sand bandits holding maces, staring coldly at Xiaopingan and the others. I go. There are more than just these sand bandits. Xiaopingzin said safely that the number of these sand bandits in front of him was not that large. He could kill them all with a single charge of the storm cavalry. However, in this way, his strength was exposed even more. The sound Muley roar just now suddenly stopped. The sand bandits on the hill did not hesitate for a moment. As the leading sand bandit waved his hand, all the sand bandits, riding huge scorpions, rushed directly towards Xiaopingan and the others, bringing with them a large number of people. Yellow sand. Not only that, the sand bandits also dispersed their formation, like a pack of wolves, and surrounded Xiaopingan and the others. Brother, you are a summoner. If you can run, just run. You just killed a few sand bandits. If you fall into the hands of these sand bandits, your life will definitely be worse than death. I didn't send you to the underworld this time. Shen, I'm sorry. Muley's face turned pale, his lips trembled, and he turned to Xiaopingan and said. Not only Muley's expression changed horribly, but the faces of the other people still alive in the camel team also showed signs of despair when they saw so many sand bandits. Seeing what Muley said, Xiaopingan didn't want to run away. He was thinking about how he could kill all these sand bandits quickly without exposing his own strength as much as possible. The aura of the leading sand bandit was different from that of the people around him. The leader of the sand bandits was staring at him. He seemed to be a summoner. The aura on his body was probably that of the air yang realm. Just now Xiaopingan showed that he was only a one yang realm summoner, so the sand bandit leader felt that he could defeat Xiaopingan. Just when Xiaopingan was about to take action, suddenly, Xiaopingan stopped and looked at the sky. In the sky, 3 summoners broke through the clouds and flew directly towards here quickly. Looking at the clothes of the 3 summoners, they seemed to be summoners from the border troops of the Great Shang Kingdom. Sure enough, the leader of the sand pirates who was charging forward suddenly saw the 3 summoners flying in the sky. Without thinking, the leader of the sand pirates turned around to run away. It's just that no matter how many legs the scorpion has, it can't be faster than the summoner flying in the sky. The 3 summoners fell from the sky and flew over the heads of the sand pirates who were rushing over. One of the summoners waved his hand, and a large rain of hot fire fell from the sky, igniting dozens of sand pirates and the large scorpions on their crotches. It burned the sand thieves until they were howling like ghosts, and each one turned into a human-shaped torch, running around on the ground. The other summoner was even more ruthless. With a wave of his hand, a black mist surged into the sky, and hundreds of ice picks flew down from the sky. They were densely packed and directly pinned the hundreds of sand bandits who were rushing at the front of the team to the ground. Amidst the sounds of chi 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 chi, those sand bandits and their big scorpion mounts were covered in blood and flesh, and their bodies were covered with blood holes as big as the mouth of a bowl. Another summoner quickly caught up with the escaping sand bandit leader. When he pointed to the ground, the sand on the ground suddenly turned into a large sliding sand, directly trapping the escaping big scorpion and directly killing him. Buried. The leader of the sand bandits who was riding on the big scorpion was shocked. He jumped up from the big scorpion and wanted to run away. The summoner who summoned the quicksand trap waved his hand, and a dark assassin suddenly appeared from the black mist behind him. Get out! The summoned assassin moved like lightning, with his feet on the ground a little, and his figure appeared. In a few flashes, his figure seemed to be dancing, and he easily avoided the snare, ice pick, and flame of the assassin leader. And surrounded by several summoned soldiers, suddenly appeared next to the assassin leader. With a cold light on his hand, the head of the assassin leader who was still wearing a wolf mask spurted blood and flew up, rolling down. On the ground. A summoner of the Tu Yang realm, and an assassin summoned by another summoner, easily killed him on this piece of yellow sand. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 343. The summoned assassin was not idle after killing the leader of the sand bandits. In the panic of those sand bandits, the assassin used a dance-like rhythm to easily catch up with several fleeing sand bandits. He raised the knife and dropped it, and the heads of the sand thieves flew up. It's not so much a battle as a slaughter. The strength of both sides is not on the same level at all. The sand bandit, who had been arrogant and domineering just now, basically fell to the ground and turned into scattered corpses in just a moment after the three summoners appeared. No one escaped. The smell of burnt bodies of humans and giant scorpions being scorched by high-temperature flames, and the thick smell of blood soon filled the valley. Muley and the people in the camel team all stared with their eyes wide open, and they didn't dare to express their anger. Xiaopingyan also quietly took 2 steps back, allowing himself to stand in an inconspicuous position. It turned out to be just a few sand pirates. I thought I would finally meet someone from the Blood Demon sect and kill them. It was really disappointing. The summoner who summoned the assassins landed gently on Muley and the others from the air. In front of her, she was like a feather, free and beautiful, not stained by dust. How can there be so many people from the Blood Demon sect to kill for you? Another summoner also flew over, landed gently on the ground, and shook his head slightly. We have been patrolling the border for such a long time, but we haven't seen any. A person from the Blood Demon cult. The other provinces have been cleansed for 2 months, and those Blood Demon cult members are now easily invisible. I heard that people from the Blood Demon sect were making a lot of noise in and around Shangjing City just to chase that Xiaopingyan. I really hope they can come to Fengling province and the border to make some noise and find something for us to do. The summoner who summoned the assassin spread his hands. The last summoner flew over, shot an ice pick in the air, and without blinking an eyelid, nailed the body of a sand pirate who was still squirming and struggling on the ground in the distance to the ground like a bug, and he fell. He came and clapped his hands gently. Okay, kill them all. Although they are not the Blood Demon cult, these sand bandits are not good birds either. They dare to cross the border and rob the land of the Great Shang Kingdom. They are just looking for death. The 3 summoners were chatting among themselves, while the people in the camel team next to them were so frightened that they dared not speak out. Muley shrank his head and looked at the marks of the dark god of war on the black robes of the 3 summoners with fear. He swallowed nervously. Although these 3 people had just saved the camel team, these 3 people represented the great merchants. He is an official of the country, and the camel team he leads is a smuggling team on the border. When a mouse sees a cat, there is no one who is not afraid. Who is the captain of the camel team? The summoner who fell last looked around and asked directly. I am the captain of this camel team. Muley forced a bitter smile on his face and patted the centipede beside him. The centipede's curled up body suddenly stretched out a little. Like a door opening in the wall, changing from an O shape to a U shape, allowing Muley to step out of the centipede's body protection circle. May I have your name? Muley replied honestly. What happened just now? Muley fully explained the process of being attacked by sand pirates. After Muley finished speaking, the 3 summoners turned their eyes away from him, showing no interest at all. Who is the summoner here? The summoner who summoned the assassin next to him glanced at the corpses of several sand bandits around him and asked directly. Ahem, I am. Xiaopingyan could only walk out. May I have your name? My name is Kui Li. Kui Li, this is the pseudonym Xiaopingyan gave himself. After changing his identity, when others asked him his name, the name naturally popped into his head, and Xiaopingyan used it. Why are you in the caravan? Sir, he is the guard hired by our caravan. Before Xiaopingyan could speak, Muley next to him spoke. Muley, who looked honest and honest, lied. His expression was particularly lifelike, and he just secretly gave Xiaopingyan he winked. Oh. The aura on Xiaopingyan's body was only that of a low-level summoner, and the 2 corpses of sand thieves killed by spells on the ground also had very weak spell auras. The 3 summoners didn't pay much attention to it when they heard Muley say that Xiaopingyan was the guard of the camel team, so he turned his attention away from Xiaopingyan. It is actually very common for these camel caravans traveling to and from Yushan to recruit low-level summoners as guards. As for how to cover up the aura of divine power on his body, it's a long story. This is also a skill that Xiaopinghan has just discovered in the past 2 months. In the past 2 months, Xiaopinghan has not entered the spirit world again for safety reasons, but his body has fully recovered the soul power consumed by killing the nightmare insects in the spirit world. Because of absorbing the soul power of the evil insect, Xiaopinghan's soul power, which was completely restored, suddenly reached 13.5 kills. However, when he first entered the spiritual world, his soul power was only 4.5 kills. His soul power increased 3 times. After his soul power increased, for some reason, Xiaopinghan found that he naturally had the ability to hide his divine aura. He could control the intensity of the aura revealed by the summoner's secret mandala, and everything fell into place. Not only that, Xiaopinghan also discovered one thing. His remote viewing ability seemed to have improved a lot unknowingly. He could see further, and the details of what he saw were more clear. I remember that when Xiaopinghan first joined the Order Committee for the Awakening Ability Assessment, his remote viewing ability was rated as F level. In the past 2 days, if we still use the previous standards to judge, Xiaopinghan feels that his remote viewing ability may have reached E level. The improvement of soul power in the spiritual world can actually bring about a series of reaction changes in his body, which Xiaopinghan did not expect. To Xiaopinghan, everything in the spiritual world is like a treasure trove waiting for him to dig. Besides these sand pirates, did you encounter any other special people or things on the road? No, we have only encountered this group of sand pirates in the past 2 days. After asking a few more questions, the 3 summoners completely lost interest in the camel team. Muley, I remember you. You are lucky to have met us this time. After returning to Fenling province, remember to make up for the tax evaded this time, and then report to the anti-smuggling team yourself. Also, please dispose of the bodies of those sand thieves. Muley nodded and bowed, looking relieved. Definitely, definitely. After a few words of explanation, the 3 summoners didn't bother to stay any longer. They were not interested in the little cargo on the camel caravan and didn't bother to look at it. The 3 summoners directly jumped into the air and disappeared in the blink of an eye. In the sky. Xiaopinghan looked at Muley and nodded with a smile on his face. Thank you, otherwise I might be in some trouble. Muley smiled bitterly. No need to thank me. It's only right for me to thank you, brother. You just saved my life. Those summoners seem too lazy to care about the camel caravan. Well, they are high-level summoners from the military. They are flying into the sky and escaping from the earth. The things in our camel team are nothing in the eyes of others. We just make some hard money. How could they see it? Muley sighed and looked at the bodies of the guards and riders who had been killed by the sand bandits before. Tears suddenly came out. He cheered up, wiped his tears, and began to direct others to restrain themselves. The corpses of comrades were used to clean up the battlefield. The swords and weapons of those sand pirates are quite sophisticated and can be exchanged for some money. The sand pirates also have a few gold and silver coins on them. Together, these things can more or less make up for the losses of the camel team. While others were busy, Xiaopinghan was not idle either. He came to the body of a sand thief whose chest was pierced by an ice pick and nailed to the ground. He took off the wolf head mask of the sand thief and looked at it. The wolf head mask is still quite new. The most important thing is that the wolf head mask is very exquisitely designed. The crystal lenses on the wolf head mask can withstand the wind and sand and maintain vision. The copper air pipe structure on the mask is a bit clever, allowing people to stand in the sand underground. Breathe inside. This thing is somewhat useful. Xiaopinghan put away a sand bandit's wolf head mask. Under the command of Muley and others, the centipede's pairs of giant feet were like shovels, and they quickly dug out several rows of large holes on the ground. Xiaopingan, Muli, and others dragged the corpses into the pits. The centipedes' pairs of giant feet dug into the soil outside the pits, burying the people directly in the soil. After hastily cleaning up the battlefield and putting away their sorrow, the camel team once again drove the centipede on the road. Muli, with red eyes, raised his voice, and a desolate folk song echoed in the wilderness full of yellow sand. The moon is crescent in the sky, the boat is crooked by the river, the two banks of the river are facing each other, the poles are facing each other, the man is traveling all over the world on horseback, and the girl is waiting at home for the husband to return. After walking through 99 rivers and mountains, I am heartbroken on the way home. Like fire, the boat goes to the beach to take advantage of the strong water, and the younger sister wants her lover to take advantage of the boy. This folk song was only sung by Muli at the beginning, but slowly, the entire camel team started singing. The singing immersed the entire camel team in a strange atmosphere. Listening to the singing, Xiaopingan thought of his companions in the sky mending project, Cao, and Xianing. After dark, there were more wild beasts in the wilderness. The camel team drove away a few hyenas on the road, and they arrived at Moon Castle. Moon Castle is an abandoned fortress. The entire Moon Castle is full of broken bricks. It is unknown how many years it has been abandoned. Muli said that when his grandfather was young, this Moon Castle was like this. He heard that it used to be a military fortress of the Great Shang Kingdom. It was later destroyed and abandoned, without being rebuilt. This abandoned military fort on the barren mountains is a rare resting place for the camel team. After feeding the centipede, the camel team lit a fire in the fort and roasted the dry food to eat. Before dawn the next day, the camel team continued on the road. After another day of bumps, they crossed countless loess hills and a towering mountain range stretched across the earth appeared on the horizon in front of them. Yushan, here we are. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 344. Brother, I will often travel to and from Yushan in the future. Thanks to you for saving my life this time, brother. If you need any help in the future, just come to me in this yard. In the yard, centipedes were lying on the ground one by one, and the goods on the centipedes' backs were being unloaded. In addition to Muli's camel team, there are more than 10 camel teams gathered in the yard. In the entire yard, goods are piled up like mountains. There are more than 200 centipedes lying on the ground. The centipedes lying close to each other in the yard give people the feeling of coming to a busy place. The same train station. In addition to centipedes, many people are also busy here. Goods shipped from the Great Shang Kingdom and things shipped from Yushan are all handed over here. These yards are Yushan's external trade hub. After entering the Yushan realm, Xiaopingan followed Muli's camel team for 2 more days before finally arriving here. Here is Yushan City, the largest, most prosperous and core place in Yushan. What most people call Yushan refers to both the entire Yushan area and this place. Xiaopingan, who came here, had to be separated from the camel team even after arriving at the destination. Muli reluctantly said goodbye to Xiaopingan. Xiaopingan waved goodbye to Muli and the camel team and walked out of the yard. The gate of the storage yard is covered with various commodity transaction information and various notices. Xiaopingan also saw his wanted portrait on the notice boards at the yard gate. The title of the wanted portrait is "A reward of 100,000 gold coins is offered to find the murderer who killed my father-in-law and his family." This person killed my father-in-law and his family 2 months ago. He may have gone to Yushan. If anyone can provide information about this person, once confirmed, I will reward him with 100,000 gold coins. Contact person, shopkeeper Zhu, Xuanhuan Building, Qiu Street. Xiaopingan was speechless after looking at it. The wanted portraits with bounties were posted in a row. They had faded due to the wind and sun, but his appearance could be vaguely seen in the portraits. The blood demon sex reward of tens of millions of gold coins was here. It turned into 100,000. This is because there is a middleman making the difference. There is a street outside the yard. Walk along the street for less than 2 miles and you will arrive at the most prosperous place in Yushan City. People were coming and going on the street, and people from all kinds of religions gathered here. In addition to people, there were also magic wolf warriors, magic wolf mages, and orcs on the street. The demon wolf warriors are the same as those seen on Earth. They stand almost 2 meters tall. They have the head of a wolf and the body of a wolf. They have black or gray fur on their bodies, and a few are white. They all wear leather armor, with weapons hanging on their waists, and on their backs. Carrying the firearms of the demon wolf clan on his back, he had a fierce gaze. The magic wolf mage wears a robe and looks like a human body, hands, and feet, but has a wolf-like head. Some magic wolf mages have 1 head, and some magic wolf mages have 2 heads. The color of the fur on the magic wolf mages is smoother and brighter, including gray hair, black hair, red hair, white hair, and golden hair. There are all. To evaluate the abilities of the demon wolf warrior and the demon wolf mage, you can tell them by the color of their fur. From low to high they are gray, black, red, white, and gold. I heard that the strongest demon wolf mage has 3 heads. Compared to the demon wolf clan, the orc clan in Yushan City is more colorful. Those orcs look like humans, but they also retain obvious traces of beasts on their bodies. Some have snake-like heads. Some people have rabbit-like ears, some have leopard-like skin, and some have cow-like horns on their heads, or fox-like tails. These different animal characteristics can easily make people think different tribes of orcs can be distinguished on the street, such as snake tribe, rabbit tribe, leopard tribe, or ox-headed tribe, and fox tribe. The costumes of these orcs are also colorful and dazzling. Many orcs have set up stalls on the street, selling various things, gems, medicinal materials, world beads, jewelry, all kinds of weird things, which can be traded for gold and silver. It is said that the higher the level of the beast clan, the fewer the beast-like characteristics on the body and the closer they look to humans. In Xiaoping'an's eyes, those orcs are actually more like monsters by the standards of the Earth. The orcs are actually the monsters. The vast majority of the orcs have not yet become adults. The streets here are both orderly and chaotic. Walking on the streets, you can hear quarrels and roars coming from the streets at any time. On this type of street, there are also fighting arenas the size of basketball courts. If disputes on the street cannot be resolved with words, they will enter the fighting arena to resolve them, using fists, swords and magic to speak out. Xiaoping'an didn't take a few steps on the street when he saw a Tauren and a demon wolf warrior fighting fiercely in a fighting arena on the street. The Tauren held a sledgehammer and knocked the demon wolf warrior away. He was so hammered that he vomited blood and flew out of the arena, with broken bones and tendons. The onlookers were talking a lot as for the reason for the fight between the Tauren and the demon wolf warrior. It was said that the Tauren and the demon wolf warrior bumped their shoulders while walking on the street, and then got into a quarrel and then ended up fighting. After being hammered out of the arena by the Tauren, the companions of the demon wolf warrior said nothing, but glared murderously at the Tauren who was roaring in the arena, turned around, picked up the seriously injured werewolf warrior, and left. Half a nonsense. This is also one of the rules passed down from Yushan City. In the fighting arena, one is responsible for life and death and is willing to accept defeat. However, those who are generally willing to fight in the street are low-level characters. Really powerful characters, firstly, no one dares to mess with them, and secondly, they will not go into the fighting field to fight with people just because of trivial matters. This Yushan City is full of brave and fierce people. It is indeed a place of chaos. Xiaoping'an walked around Yushan City for a while, then found a hotel opened by the human race. After negotiating the price, he settled down. Yes, here, whether it is the human race, the demon wolf clan, or the orc clan, each has its own industry and business. There are many inns and hotels for the demon wolf clan and the orcs. Xiaopinggan's hotel was on the third floor of the inn. He came to the room and checked that there was nothing wrong. Xiaopinggan opened the window of the room and hung the birdcage by the window. After a while, the sound of fluttering flew from the sky. Come on, an eagle owl flew directly from outside, passed through the window, and landed directly in the room. Xiaopinggan waved his hand, creating a silent barrier that hides ears and steals bells. The sound in the entire room was blocked and could no longer be heard. The eagle owl that flew into the room made a bang, and a burst of smoke came out, and then it turned into a big living person standing in front of Xiaopinggan. Yan 11 was naked, covering his lower abdomen with his hands, huddled up, looking at Xiaopinggan, begging, "Can you give me some clothes? You have been naked for so many days and I don't see you feeling embarrassed. Are birds and humans the same?" Xiaopinggan smiled, but still took out a robe from the space equipment and threw it over. "Only one. Okay, it's enough to cover up a little. Just pretend you're in the dressing room. There are no outsiders here anyway." Yangzi quickly put on his robe, revealing his chest and hairy thighs under the robe, which looked particularly coquettish. "I've let you be free for a few days. Don't tell me that you haven't heard any useful information. In addition to its eyes, eagle owl's hearing is dozens of times better than ordinary people. Get something to eat first, I'm going to starve to death." Yan 11 rubbed his stomach. Hey, didn't you catch a few mice to satisfy your craving?" Hearing the joke about mice and thinking of the two little brats on the train, Yan 11's mouth twitched and his face turned dark. After finishing the joke, Xiaopinggan directly took out a plump roast chicken from the space equipment and threw it over. Yan 11 grabbed the roast chicken and divided it by 3 and 5. In just a moment, there was only a pile of roast chicken left. "Bones," he finally sighed contentedly. "Wei Zhongxing is very famous in Yushan City. He is the leader of the Genki gang on the human side of Yushan City. The Genki gang is one of the major forces of the human race in Yushan. The headquarters of the Genki gang is in the Genki Fort east of Yushan City. Genki Fort it controls the ground with a radius of more than 2,000 kilometers and has a gang of more than 1 million people. Legend has it that Wei Zhongxing is the summoner of the 6 Yang realm. He has 4 Vajras and 8 altar masters under his command, as well as 2 protectors, both of whom are in the 6 Yang realm. The summoner below, Wei Zhongxing, can be killed." Yan 11 told Xiaopinggan the information he was concerned about in a straightforward manner. The leader of the Yushan branch of the Blood Demon sect is actually the leader of the Genki gang here, the Genki gang? This is a great irony. The 4 great Vajras, the 8 great altar masters and the 2 great protectors under Wei Zhongxing should be members of the Blood Demon sect. The righteous gang is the shell and vest of the Blood Demon sect in Yushan. Lin Qing might have been deceived by the word Genki gang back then. Xiaopinggan sighed secretly. As long as you plan properly, it is not difficult to kill a summoner in the 6 Yang realm. The Yan 11 in front of you is the top killer in the 6 Yang realm. Xiaopinggan's eyes already showed murderous intent. It's just. Yan 11 looked at Xiaopinggan's face and hesitated again. Just what? Wei Zhongxing left Genki Fort 2 months ago, saying he was traveling, but he hasn't come back yet. Upon hearing this, Xiaopinggan was also stunned. Could this Wei Zhongxing be looking for him? If he doesn't show up for a day, then Wei Zhongxing won't come back for a day. How long will he have to wait for him in this secluded mountain? If he doesn't come back for a few years, will he wait here for a few more years? Xiaopinggan frowned and took 2 steps in the room. Is there any valuable news? Wei Zhongxing's Genki gang is competing with another force of the Yushan human race, the Fire Dragon Pavilion, for a silver mine on a hilltop these days. The friction between the 2 sides is increasing day by day. There has been a small-scale fight among the gangs below. The Fire Dragon Pavilion is mobilizing the soldiers' dispatched generals to take advantage of Wei Zhongxing's absence in Yushan to seize the silver mine on the top of the mountain. The Tauren and Snakemen on the Orc side seemed to want to intervene. The Genki gang sensed the crisis and were recruiting troops. The current atmosphere in Yushan City, in fact, a little nervous. Fighting for silver mines. Fire Dragon Pavilion? Xiaoping's heart moved. He could use this. It was impossible for him to show up, but he could find a way to lure Wei Zhongxing back and wait. The Great Shang Kingdom also has power in Yushan City, called the Great Shang Alliance. There is also a Peking auction house in Yushan City. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 345. At night, when the lanterns first come on, the entire Yushan City is still noisy, like a city that never sleeps. When Xiaopingyan came to the Peking auction house in Yushan City, he was also shocked by the scale of the Peking auction house here. Too big. The Penwang auction house in Yushan City is much larger than the Penwang auction house in Shangjing City. The square outside the Penwang auction house alone is as big as a football field. From the outside, the entire auction house looks like it's like a huge stadium. At the gate of the auction house, the golden Daipen stands tall and proud, with unparalleled momentum. Behind the Daipen, the auction house is brightly lit. Under the spread wings of the Daipen, there are 6 doors to enter the auction house. In front of every door, there were 2 Tauren warriors 2.5 meters tall, wearing armor and holding heavy hammers in their hands. Their aura would make even the faint of heart pee. The bustling flow of people filed into the auction house through the 6 doors. In addition to people from the Orcs and the Magic Wolf clan came here to participate in the auction. Xiaopingyan walked around Yushan City for a long time and then came here. Unexpectedly, today happened to be the day when Penwang auction house was auctioning things, so Xiaopingyan came to join in the fun. The Dashang Kingdom's rare world beads have begun to be controlled, and they are no longer available in auction houses. Xiaopingyan wants to see if he can buy rare world beads in Yushan's auction house. There is no such thing as resource control here in Yushan. He hasn't fused a world bead for 2 months, and his divine power has not improved. Xiaopingyan felt like he was about to fade away. Only when there was no world bead did he miss those happy times in Shangjing City. At that time, the world beads were all fused together, and their strength was like riding a rocket, changing with each passing day. Unfortunately, as the common world beads are integrated, the rare world beads become less and less, and it is no longer possible to experience those days again. As a summoner, strength is the foundation of a summoner. As long as there is an opportunity, Xiaopingyan will never miss the opportunity to fuse the world beads. Wearing all black, Yan 11, who finally returned to adulthood, followed Xiaopingyan, making it look like Yan 11 was Xiaopingyan's friend. As a top killer, Yan 11 knows a set of bone-shrinking skills. Once this set of bone-shrinking skills is used, Yan 11's body shape and face can be easily changed. That face is almost unrecognizable to Xiaopingyan. During the day, Yan 11 served as a tour guide, taking Xiaopingyan around Yushan City to see the beautiful scenery, and even visited the outskirts of Genki Castle. In the evening, the two returned to the city. Xiaopingyan felt that having Yan 11 by his side also had a benefit, that is, anyone who saw 2 people walking together would never think that Xiaopingyan would have an accomplice when he was running for his life. Xiaopingyan is not worried that Yan 11 will run away or betray him, because once something happens to him, Yan 11's sealing technique will be solidified. If Yan 11 wants to be a human again, it will be as difficult as climbing to the sky, and his life will be precarious. 11 Pingyan's fate has been tied to him by Xiaopingyan, just like a grasshopper on a thread. Regarding the fact that he was being hunted by the blood demon cult, Yan 11 didn't dare to have any other thoughts besides being a little gloating about his misfortune. The 2 people followed the person in front from the middle door of Penwang auction house and entered the auction house. There was a box at the door of the auction house. The admission ticket to the auction house was a gold coin. The rules of Penguang Auction House in Yushan are completely different from those of Penguang Auction House in Shangjing City. Every item auctioned here is kept confidential before the auction starts. Every time you come to participate in the auction, you have to pay a gold coin to try your luck. At the same time, there is no VIP auction room here. All auctions are held in one hall, and the auction items there are so many kinds, and everything can be photographed, even people, demon wolf warriors, fox beauties, etc. Yan 11 quietly introduced the rules here to Xiaopingan. Behind the 6 main doors of the auction house, there are 6 small doors each. People who enter are separated into different small doors. Then behind the small doors, you can randomly receive a mask at a service desk. Wearing the mask, only then can you enter the auction house. Sir, please do not take off your mask after you take a photo of what you like. If you expose your face in the auction house will not be able to guarantee your safety after leaving the auction house. Customers who have taken photos of the items, our auction house also has a special dressing room and dressing room at the backstage, which allows customers to leave through a special channel after putting on makeup, so that they will not be recognized by other people participating in the auction. A charming-looking fox tribe beauty handed a fox mask to Xiaopingan, and then introduced it to Xiaopingan in a gentle voice. Also, if you use force to cause trouble in the auction house, you will be killed by the auction house's guardians. If you cannot pay for the auctioned items, it is equivalent to selling yourself to the auction house, and the auction house will treat it as a slave to be auctioned to offset the auction price, so please be careful when auctioning, and do not affect other people's auctions. This rule is for those who want to cause trouble. Xiaopingan was mentally prepared, nodded slightly, took the fox mask and put it on his face, then followed the passage into the auction house. Half a minute later, Yan 11, who also wore a fox mask on his face, followed from behind. The seats in the auction house are all small cubicles. Each small cubicle can seat up to 3 people. There is an auction seat number for each person on the small cubicle. There is also a mechanical bidding device in the small cubicle. As long as the operation by pulling the bidder, you can bid in the auction in a small cubicle, which looks quite interesting. There were many people coming to participate in the auction. Xiaopingan took a look at the auction house. The auction house could seat at least about 5,000 people. There were more than 4,000 people coming to participate in the auction tonight. Not long after he sat down, people participating in the auction continued to enter the venue. Xiaopingan's ears suddenly heard the voice of Yan 11 next to him. Across from you, on the left-hand side, seat number 3063 in the second row at 9 o'clock. That person is Tuli, one of the 4 great Vajras of the Genki gang, Wei Jiangxing's right-hand man. Xiaopingan was shocked. He looked in the direction Yan 11 said and saw a strong man wearing a bull's head mask and a silver robe. He had just entered the auction seat number 3063 and sat down. He was looking left and right. How do you know that person is Tuli, one of the 4 great Vajras of the Genki gang? Xiaopingan asked Yan 11. I remember his hairstyle, body shape, and walking posture. He just wore a mask. His body shape, hairstyle, and walking posture have not changed. So I am sure. Do you want to do it tonight? Yan 11 licked gently. Licking his lips, his voice already contained a bloody desire to kill. Xiaopingan just glanced at Tuli lightly, and moved his eyes away naturally without stopping on Tuli for half a second, so as not to arouse the reaction of the master. It's better to rush early than to rush in time. During the day, Xiaopingan was still thinking about how to join the Genki gang. Unexpectedly, he met the 4 kings of the Genki gang at the auction house at night. Keep an eye on it for now, wait until the auction ends. Understood, he. Xiaopingan didn't speak anymore, but the god of fortune boy had jumped out of his secret mandala and quickly walked around the auction house. In the sight of the god of fortune, Xiaopingan saw a thin old man standing there with his hands behind his back in a private room at the highest point of the auction house, overlooking the entire auction house. A fat man wearing gold-rimmed glasses, a mustache and a gorgeous robe stood respectfully next to the old man. "Mr. He, there has been some chaos outside recently. The friction between the Genki gang and the Fire Dragon Pavilion has expanded. According to the trend, several tribes of the Demon Wolf clan are competing for Fai Shui Yuan, and the Demon Wolf is also shuffling within the Demon Wolf. The expelled Demon Wolf mages and Demon Wolf warriors from the failed tribes are all heading towards Yushan City. Yushan, it's not peaceful. The auction house should ask Mr. He to take more trouble." "Haha, when will there be peace in Yushan?" The old man drooped his eyelids, with no expression on his face. "The people who come to the auction house to cause trouble have been killed in recent years. Don't worry, if someone doesn't know the rules, I will let him know." With what Mr. He said, "I feel relieved." The fat man had a smile on his face. After the God of Fortune boy walked around the auction house, he sat on Tu Lai's head with a scowl on his face. The boy of God of Fortune, indeed, felt the bloody aura of the blood demon sex devil's eye sacrifice on Tu Lai's body. Xiaopingan stared at the auction house, his eyes narrowed unconsciously, his gaze as cold as a blade. Not long after, the auction began. The auctioneer who walked up to the stage was a man with two long rabbit ears. He was a rabbit man from the Orc tribe. In addition to the two rabbit ears, the auctioneer also had two long and pointed rabbit-like ears. Tooth. Dear distinguished guests, today's auction at Penwang Auction House has officially begun. The first auction item to be auctioned today is the twin beauties of the Fox clan. Following the auctioneer's introduction, a pair of beautiful fox girls walked hand in hand to the auction platform, turned around on the platform, and showed off their voluptuous figures and looks. Looking at the pair of fox girls, many people at the auction table had their eyes shining brightly and secretly swallowed their saliva. The starting price for this pair of beautiful fox girls is 500 gold coins. Each increase in price will not be less than 50 gold coins. Please bid. The mechanical bidder in the auction house began to ring continuously. Several teeth on the bidder had the lowest price increase options of 1 to 10 times. Those who wanted to take pictures of the twin beauties of the Fox tribe were pulling the mechanical bidder frantically. In less than half a minute, the pair of fox beauties were photographed for 2,350 gold coins. The mechanical bidding device is indeed very useful in this situation and can greatly improve the efficiency of the auction. After the pair of fox twins, 20 consecutive groups of foundation building world beads were auctioned next, followed by several century-old blood ginseng, 9-leaf Ganoderma grass, sandworm crystals, several groups of magic wolf warriors, orc warriors, rune instruments, and then various world beads were brought to the stage one after another. However, for Xiaopingan, those boundary beads were all fused by him and did not interest him at all. Finally, after the auction lasted for more than an hour, a new world bead was delivered to the stage. This is a rare magical world bead. The magical skill of this world bead is of great use to the summoner. At critical moments, it can give the summoner a diamond neck to resist attacks on the vital parts of the neck. This bead, even if the boundary bead does not have the corresponding divine mind crystal, the mortality rate is very low. The starting price of this boundary bead is 1,200 gold coins, and the minimum price increase is 100 gold coins each time. Seeing the new rare world bead appearing on the auction table, Xiaopingan was shocked. He looked at the world bead attentively. He saw that the world bead was dark red, and the small seal in the world bead was 2 characters. Dongxian. As soon as he saw the words Dongxian, Xiaopingan knew why this world bead could give the summoner the magical ability to protect the neck. Dongxian was famous for his strength order. As soon as this rare world bead appeared, the competition at the auction suddenly became fierce. The original low price of 1,200 gold coins quickly exceeded 2,000. Xiaopingan also bid twice, but The bid for seat number 3063 is 3,800 gold coins. The bid for seat number 3063 is 3,800 gold coins. Is there anything higher than this? The auctioneer in the venue became excited. Seat number 3063 belongs to Tuli, one of the 4 great kings of the Genki gang. The price has exceeded 3 times the starting price of the rare world bead. It is already very expensive. Several other competitors have also backed down. Xiaopingan has it. Money, but after thinking about it, he just glanced at seat 3063, showed an unpredictable smile on his lips, and gave up the bidding. I declare that this magic world bead belongs to seat number 3063, the auctioneer hammered down. The auction was still going on, and after a while, another rare world bead appeared. This is also a rare divine power world bead. If the fusion is successful, it can increase at least 20 points of divine power. Although this rare divine power world bead is difficult to fuse successfully, its biggest feature is that it will not die even if the fusion fails. It is very safe. If you have the corresponding spiritual crystal or want to challenge, you can try it. The bidding for this world pearl starts at 1,000 gold coins, and the minimum increase in price each time must not be less than 100 gold coins. Xiaopingan looked at the divine power world bead and saw 4 small seal characters on it, Haoliang's Hibian, and he knew it in his heart. This world bead only increases divine power, and the price is not cheap, so the competition is not fierce. After bidding for several rounds, Xiaopingan bought this world bead for 2,300 gold coins. Later, there is another rare divine power world bead for sale together with the divine mind crystal that matches it. This rare divine power world bead is a word of gold. When paired with the divine mind crystal, the starting price is 2,600 gold coins. The competition for this rare divine power world bead was fierce. Xiaopingan didn't even bid much. The auction price for this world bead and the divine mind crystal was over 5,000 gold coins. In the end, it was seat number 3063 that paid 6,100 gold coins to collect the award worth 1,000 gold world beads and spiritual crystal. After this world bead, until the end of the auction, no rare world bead appeared again, and the auction ended. As soon as the auction ended, Xiaopingan winked at Yan 11, who nodded slightly and left quickly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 346. In the backstage trading room of the auction house, Xiaopingan took out 46 rolls of gold coins. Each roll contained 50 gold coins. One roll weighed more than 2 kilograms, which was very heavy on the hand. The 46 rolls of gold coins were piled on the table, which was larger than the size of an adult. Be heavier. This is the value of a rare world bead. The gold coins stacked together are heavier than one person, and ordinary people can only stay away from it. The gold tickets from the Dashang Kingdom can also be used in Yushan, but Xiaopingan doesn't have many gold tickets anymore, so he pays directly with gold coins. After the staff at the auction house checked the authenticity of the 46 rolls of gold coins and confirmed that there was no problem with the gold coins, a hardwood box was placed in front of him. Sir, this is the world bead you took. Xiaopingan opened the box. Inside the box was the Haoliang debate boundary bead. He nodded and put the box away. Sir, do you need to change clothes and leave through the special passage of the auction house? You don't need to go through a special passage. Where is your dressing room? I can just change my clothes. Okay, sir, please come with me. All the clothes and jewelry in our dressing room are for sale. Whatever you like, you can wear it directly. If necessary, we also provide hairdressers and makeup artists to help you. Your look is tailor-made. As he spoke, the workers at the auction house took Xiaopinggan directly to a large dressing room. The locker room is full of all kinds of men's clothing and hats, with hundreds of styles available. These clothes are convenient for people taking photos of things. They can change their outfit here and go out without being recognized by other people in the auction house. This is the characteristic of Pengwang Auction House in Yushan. Everything is taken into consideration for customers. The auction house also sells department stores and beauty products. It is a complete service. However, this also shows from the side that this Yushan is not an ordinary mess. After revealing your wealth, you should be careful. Xiaopinggan just changed into a new set of clothes and hat in the dressing room. After paying the money, he left from the auction house exit without taking any special passage. The sky outside has completely darkened. Except for the lights on the square outside the auction house, there are no street lights in other places. Xiaopinggan, who walked out of the auction house, was not conspicuous at all. He just blended in with the crowd, slowly walking out of the auction house and left the auction house. As soon as he left the square, Xiaopinggan quickened his pace and soon came to a sparsely populated alley. Yan 11 waved to Xiaopinggan in the alley. That Tully didn't go through the special passage of the auction house. Yan 11 whispered as soon as he saw Xiaopinggan. Where will he go back, Xiaopinggan? There is a high probability that he will return to Genki Castle. Xiaopinggan's gentle temperament suddenly disappeared. He was filled with murderous intent, his eyes were cold, and he simply said 7 words, "Find a place and do him." Upon hearing Xiaopinggan's words, Yan 11 smiled, just as he wanted. "I chose a place, we can go there and wait for him to come to our door. Then let's go." Yang Zi grabbed Xiaopinggan and suddenly disappeared into the ground. Xiaopinggan had just left Pengwang Auction House when Tu Lai, one of the 4 King Kongs of the Genki gang, walked out of the main entrance of the auction house with a few followers. Tully's hair is combed with pigtails, his eyes are like copper bells, he has a big nose and a lion's mouth, and he has a hairy beard. At first glance, he looks quite intimidating. There were 2 black carriages outside the auction house. When they saw Tu Lai coming out, the 2 black carriages drove over. Tu Lai got on one of them, while several followers around him got on the other. The carriage then left the auction house and headed towards the east road. The 2 carriages were not slow, and it didn't take long to pass through Yushan City at night and arrive outside the city. Yushan City is located in a huge mountain basin. Yushan City is very prosperous inside. If you go outside the city, different forces have different territories. Many places look deserted and desolate. There are basically no people to see at night. The road from Yushan City to the Genki Gang's territory passes through a large forest of giant sequoia trees and a section of mountain road. The horse lanterns of the 2 carriages had been lit long ago, and they were swaying on the carriages, illuminating the road in front of the carriages. Driving in the giant sequoia forest at night, the sound of horse hooves was particularly clear. Just as the carriage was driving deep into the giant sequoia forest, dozens of arrows, a large swath of ice picks, and fireballs suddenly flew over at lightning speed, hitting the 2 carriages in an instant. The 2 coachmen who were driving screamed, and their bodies were pierced by several arrows, and they rolled down from the carriage. The 4 horses pulling the cart were also hit by arrows. Zilunade and his whole body turned black instantly. His feet went weak and he fell to the road. As for the 2 carriages with people behind the carriage, they are the targets of special attention. Dozens of ice picks and fireballs instantly shattered the 2 carriages. At the same time that the carriage in which Tully's attendants were riding was shattered, those attendants flew out of the carriage. The 2 attendants drew out their swords, turned in the air, and stepped in the air, like he swooped towards the forest like a goshawk, showing his strong martial arts skills. A large group of werewolf warriors rushed out from the giant sequoia forest, roaring lowly, and rushed towards this side. There were also 2 attendants with the brilliance of water shields flashing on their bodies. While protecting themselves, They also released fireballs, igniting the bodies of the two werewolf warriors who rushed out of the forest. There was also a summoner who summoned a group of elite slave soldiers surrounded him and faced the werewolf warriors rushing towards him. "Bastard!" Tully roared angrily, and with a roar, he rushed out of the burning compartment of his carriage like a tiger. He was surrounded by a water shield flashing with blue light. He looked at it coldly. The demon wolf warriors who rushed over had murderous looks on their faces. "You demon wolf trash, you have an idea on my head, I'm tired of living." As he spoke, Tully stamped his feet, and a large area of magical light that formed a barrier on the ground lit up under the feet of the demon wolf warriors. In just this moment, more than a dozen demon wolf warriors were immobilized by him. Then he waved his hand, and two demon wolf warriors were frozen. The burning tiger was summoned by him. As soon as the burning tiger was summoned, it rushed towards the immobilized magic wolf warriors, turning more than 10 magic wolf warriors into ashes in the blink of an eye. As soon as a red-haired magic wolf mage rushed out of the forest, he was stared at by Tully. Tully waved his hand and several fireballs flew towards the magic wolf mage. The magic wolf mage just blocked those few fireballs with a water shield. A fireball, Tully's figure was like lightning, but he had already flown to the side of the magic wolf mage. His big hands flashed with golden light through the water shield, and he grabbed the magic wolf mage's neck and roared, "Click," directly twisting the head off the neck of the magic wolf mage. The spine and head of the demon wolf mage's body were separated, and the spine on his neck was bloody and exposed, which was particularly scary. At the same time, two black mists suddenly emerged from the ground under the feet of Tully's two summoners, and the two summoners were involved in the black smoke. The flesh and blood fell down in large chunks like melted candles, and the skeleton collapsed with a crash. After the two black smoke, a strange figure of a black-haired magic wolf mage with two heads emerged from the black smoke. Then the black mist turned into a long whip and whipped it towards Tully. "Come over." Bone-eroding wolf smoke. Tully's expression changed, and he retreated sharply. With a wave of his hand, a total of 50 warriors wearing armor were summoned. Some warriors stood in front of him, and some warriors rushed towards the demon wolves. "Warrior." Several summoned warriors standing in front of Tully were touched by the black smoke whip and instantly turned into light and shadow and disappeared. The black smoke whip was endless, but like a black snake in the air, it twisted its body. One whip turned into two whips, and the extra whip changed direction, and suddenly wrapped around another warrior attendant of Tully. The warrior had just killed a demon wolf warrior, and before he could retreat, he was entangled by the black smoke whip. With a crash, the flesh and blood all over his body fell apart like wax, leaving a bloody skeleton still rushing forward under the inertia. A few of them were hit by a demon wolf warrior with a mace, and they suddenly turned into powder fragments. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 347. The fight in the giant sequoia forest was fierce and fierce. In just a blink of an eye and a few breaths, there was only one warrior follower left beside Tully, and that warrior follower was instantly surrounded by more than a dozen demon wolf warriors. Those demon wolf warriors rushed towards the warrior attendant without fear of death. The various tools, crossbows, and swords in their hands were all directed at the warrior attendant. Although the warrior follower was not weak in ability, he was not very strong either. After killing 3 demon wolf warriors, he was hit by a crossbow arrow in the thigh. While he was staggering, a demon wolf warrior rushed over and stabbed him with a knife. The warrior's chest bit the warrior's neck, chewing away a large amount of flesh and blood, and tearing the warrior's throat and trachea. The warrior's neck and chest spurted blood, and he fell to the ground all of a sudden, and then 2 wolves' the dental sticks hit him at the same time, and the warrior's head and chest were shattered into minced meat, and he died. Tully was entangled by the 2-headed magic wolf mage, and he could only watch helplessly as his warrior attendant fell. At this moment, a large group of demon wolf warriors rushed towards Tully. "You all deserve to die." Tu Lai grinned ferociously, flying to avoid the long whip that was sweeping away from the bone-eroding smoke, and slammed his golden fists on the ground. Chilla! Just for a moment, with Tully as the center, countless metal thorns suddenly spurted out from the ground in a radius of 100 meters. The effect was like someone stepping on it, and it was full of sharp points. The same as in the thorn trap. Ah! A group of fierce demon wolf warriors screamed. The figures of those demon wolf warriors were instantly penetrated by protrusions from the ground, and were nailed to the ground like meat skewers. Each demon wolf warrior, the intestines were pierced and the belly was rotten. From the feet to the belly, from the belly to the neck and head, they were all pierced by the metal spikes protruding from the ground. Blood spurted out, and the ground with a radius of 100 meters instantly turned blood red, with the blood of the demon wolf. Fishy smell. The two-headed magic wolf mage who was entangled with Tully suddenly turned into smoke and jumped up to avoid the spikes spitting out from the ground. Tully was about to give chase, but when he passed a tall giant sequoia tree, his expression suddenly changed. A black figure suddenly emerged from the trunk of the tall giant sequoia tree where 10 people were hugging each other. A black knife in his hand, as fast as lightning, was directly swiped at Tu Lai's neck. The speed was unbelievable. By the time Tu Lai discovered it, the black knife and the figure were less than 3 feet away from his neck. Tu Lai roared, and in just an instant, a water shield, an ice shield, a fire shield, and a metal shield appeared around his body. The 4 shields swirled around to protect his body. However, the black shadow and the one in the black shadow's hand, the black knife, was unstoppable. The black knife suddenly bloomed with brilliant brilliance. The black knife suddenly revealed the shadow of a golden 3-headed giant wolf. The golden 3-headed giant wolf had a powerful aura that looked down on the world. The shadow, as soon as he appeared, the water shield, ice shield, fire shield, and the metal shield summoned by Tu Lai were all shattered with a single blow. The knife and the shadow went straight for Tu Lai's head. At the critical moment, a bronze metal token suddenly appeared in Tully's hand. The token was densely covered with thunder-shaped runes. Tully suddenly inspired the token. A ball of dazzling thunder and lightning suddenly bloomed from Tully's hand. In an instant, the giant cedar forest seemed to be the center of a thunderstorm. The dazzling white chain lightning was like a shockwave, with Tully as the center. It spread quickly, and the air in the forest was filled with shining electric lights. The black figure who rushed to Tu Lai with a black knife and was about to behead Tu Lai, the magic wolf mage not far away, and the magic wolf warriors on the ground who were skewered into meat skewers, were all affected by the lightning shock wave. Within the scope, the bodies of the demon wolf warriors who were strung to the ground were instantly charred, and their fur suddenly disappeared. The injured and struggling demon wolf warriors who were not completely dead were suddenly turned into charcoal. A muffled groan sounded from Tu Lai's side, and the black figure holding the black knife dissipated, revealing a white-haired demon wolf with 2 wolf heads. The white-haired demon wolf turned into a streak of blood, and suddenly passed through a giant sequoia. The chain lightning struck the trunk of the giant sequoia, directly exploding the trunk of the giant sequoia. Like thunder from the sky, the giant sequoia tree immediately caught fire, and it was the giant sequoia tree that followed the cover allowed the 2-headed white-haired demonic wolf to turn into a streak of blood and escape quickly, but he also vomited 7 or 8 mouthfuls of blood. The other 2-headed magic wolf mage was not so lucky. The 2-headed magic wolf mage wanted to retreat, but the speed could not be faster than lightning. The terrifying lightning shattered the bone-eroding wolf smoke whip in the hand of the 2-headed magic wolf mage, and a sharp lightning directly knocked the 2-headed magic wolf away. One of the mage's heads was smashed to pieces. The 2-headed magic wolf mage screamed and fell from the air. The body with only one magic wolf head was instantly annihilated and carbonized in the bright light of lightning, and was lost. All the breath of life. After the violent and dazzling lightning shock wave, Tu Lai was the only one standing on the ground in the giant sequoia forest, breathing heavily. The ground around him was covered with charred remains of the demon wolf, and there was no living person left. A giant sequoia tree was burning, and smoke rose from the ground. The ground for hundreds of meters in radius was scorched black, and there was no trace of life left, as if it had been plowed through by cannonballs and flames. The token that brought the terrifying lightning turned into fine silver sand, slipping from Tully's fingers little by little and scattered on the ground. Tully's figure shook, his face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The last attack of the white-haired demon wolf with 2 wolf heads and the one he crushed in his hand at the critical moment. The backlash of the 5 Thunder Formation talisman still injured Tully. Tully's eyes were fixed on the other direction of Yushan City, and between his blood-stained lips and teeth, he uttered 3 words, "Fire Dragon Pavilion." In Tully's opinion, this assassination was definitely arranged by the Fire Dragon Pavilion by buying off the armed demon wolves that wandered into the mountains. The demon wolves attacked tonight all had unfamiliar faces, especially the 2-headed white-haired demon wolf. The mage also has a powerful magic weapon of the demon wolf clan in his hand, which has never appeared in Yushan before. Such a demon wolf mage will not be an unknown person among the demon wolves, and it is impossible for him to ambush him for no reason. It could only be that he was instructed by someone, and apart from the Fire Dragon Pavilion, Tully could not find another possibility. After taking a breath for a while, Tully's complexion gradually improved. As soon as the fierce fight ended, his spirit also relaxed. Tully glanced at the scene full of corpses. This was not a place to stay for a long time. Just when he was about to turn around and leave, the mutation regenerated. A terrifying cold air burst out suddenly and violently from the ground, freezing his feet and the ground. The terrifying cold air also spread from his footsteps towards Tully's body. Tully's expression suddenly changed, and he wanted to jump up, but because of the terrifying cold air, his movements were always slowed down. Then, a sharp cold light flew out from the ground under his feet. The speed was faster than lightning, and it shot up from bottom to top. Tully's body suddenly stiffened and he didn't even say a word. His whole body was cut in half. Crash! The contents of Tully's space equipment suddenly exploded all over the floor. Rolling gold coins, world beads, and all kinds of bottles and jars of strange things, like the cargo dumped by a truck, suddenly covered the ground. 2 people emerged from the ground like smoke. Xiaopingan waved his hand and collected all the things that exploded from Tully's body. Yangzi threw a fireball at the same time, and the fireball burned on the ground, burning the 2 halves of Tully's body into carbon, and annihilating the terrifying frozen traces on the ground. Xiaopingan shouted, "Let's go." Without saying a word, Yan 11 grabbed Xiaopingan, and the 2 figures suddenly turned into black smoke and sank into the ground, losing all traces in the blink of an eye. The entire process from killing Tully to leaving took less than a second. The giant sequoia forest was completely silent, except for the corpses on the ground. There was no sound at all. In the distance, in the giant sequoia forest, the 2-headed white-haired demon wolf that was vomiting blood and running wildly, with large sections of its white fur already scorched by lightning, stopped suddenly, turned its 2 wolf heads sharply, and its 4 eyes flashed with blood. Light looked at the place where the battle had just occurred with incredible eyes. On the skin of the 2-headed white-haired demonic wolf's chest, the blood mark of their family's curse of revenge was becoming hot, resonating with his bloodline spirit. The induction of this cursed mark came from a certain member of their family, and as far as he knew, that member of their family was very ambitious and had left Yuanqiu a year ago and entered the subdimensional war. That family member was still his junior. But just now, he sensed the mark of the revenge curse left by that family member before his death appeared in the place where he had fought with Tully just now. What happened? The revenge curse of the Demon Wolf clan will never go wrong. This is the unique blood ability of the Demon Wolf clan. Why did the curse of revenge appear here when the members of the Demon Wolf family who had left the Yuankai world and entered the subdimensional world died? The 2-headed white-haired demon wolf stood in the giant sequoia forest, its four eyes flashing, gradually becoming weird and profound. A moment later, the two-headed demonic wolf suddenly turned its head and quickly left the giant sequoia forest in a flash. Half an hour later, a group of people flew quickly from the east and rushed to the place where Tu Lai died. Fire Dragon Pavilion. A roar came from the giant sequoia forest. At about the same time, Xiaopingan and Yan 11 returned to the hotel room where Xiaopingan rented without any incident. As soon as he returned here, Xiaopingan waved his hand, and the entire room was enveloped by his silent barrier. It's so dangerous. I didn't expect that Tu Lai actually had the 5 Thunder Formation talisman on his body. Yan 11 sat down on the chair and let out a long breath. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 348. As one of the 4 great Vajras of the Genki gang, it's not surprising that Tu Lai has life-saving things on his body. Fortunately, those demon wolves helped us step on the thunder and saved us a lot of effort, Xiaopingan said, remembering Tu Lai's hand just now. The terrifying chain lightning that exploded on the ground made me a little scared and shocked. The 5 Thunder Formation talisman was the method of a rune master. Xiaopingan was also a rune master, but he had not yet mastered the magic spell of summoning thunder and lightning. Seeing such an array talisman, I can only envy it in my heart. Xiaopingan secretly thought that when he mastered the thunder script, he would definitely get a bunch of thunder talismans to save his life. Those things were so useful. This is the problem that assassins and killers face when they act. Unexpected assassinations and actions can seize favorable opportunities. Sometimes they can catch the opponent off guard and achieve the greatest results. However, at the same time, due to insufficient intelligence preparation, this kind of assassination sometimes faces high operational risks, because you don't know what cards the opponent has that haven't been revealed yet, Yan 11 commented with a professional eye and shook his head. By the way, what kind of magic weapon is the black sword held by the two-headed white-haired magic wolf mage who appeared at the end? It is so powerful. With one blow, it actually broke through Tully's 4-layer summoning shield, almost. Just killed Tu Lai, and the light and shadow of the 3 giant golden wolves appeared on the magic weapon, Xiaopingan asked strangely. Have you never seen that thing? Yan 11 glanced at Xiaopingan strangely. Isn't this strange? I just came to Yuankai world and I haven't had much time. It's normal that I don't know, Xiaopingan shrugged. That black sword should be a high-level magic weapon, but it is actually a Horcrux. Horcrux? What is that? The foundation of a Horcrux is also a magical weapon cast by a caster. Some people also regard the Horcrux as a high-level magical weapon. However, unlike the magical weapon, the Horcrux is usually a high-level summoner or mage. After a high-level mage injects the magic weapon with his spiritual essence, the magic weapon becomes a Horcrux, becomes more powerful, has some strange abilities, and even has its own consciousness as if it is alive. The sword used by the demon sword in the Shadow Guard of the Judgment Army in Shangjing City is also a Horcrux. Depending on the soul injected into the magic weapon, there are also holy weapons and artifacts on top of the Horcrux. These things are all rare treasures. Yan 11 licked his lips and a look of greed and envy flashed in his eyes. The two-headed white-haired magic wolf mage may have an unusual origin, otherwise he wouldn't have such a thing on his hands. How about we find a chance to do it again, make that two-headed white-haired magic wolf mage and steal his Horcrux, then we will make a fortune. This guy Yan 11 is really not a serious person. He only thinks about these murders and looting all day long. However, there is another piece of information in Yan 11's words that aroused Xiaopingan's interest. The sacred and artifacts you mentioned, what is it? A higher level magic weapon. The magical weapons infused with divine soul by the demigod summoners of the Tenyang realm can be transformed into sacred weapons. The magical weapons infused with divine soul by the gods can be transformed into sacred weapons. Both of these things have great power. What level of summoner can create Horcruxes? It's not that easy for a summoner to create a Horcrux. If he divides his soul and injects it into the magical weapon, he might end up killing himself. Yan 11 shook his head. As far as I know, there were some summoners from the 3 Yang realm and the 4 Yang realm who also wanted to get Horcruxes for themselves, but they all ended badly. Those people ended up either crazy or stupid. Some he even died. Making Horcruxes can only be done by high-level summoners, and only people above the 7 Suns realm can do this. Xiaoping'an rubbed his chin, showing an interested look. Can it be done in the 3 Yang realm and the 4 Yang realm? It doesn't sound difficult. Yan 11 was startled, and his face changed. You don't want to do it yourself, do you? Can you please help me unlock the sealing technique before doing it? Otherwise, there is something wrong with your head and you are going crazy. Then I'm going to be in trouble. You haven't said how to do it yet. I'm in the 5 Suns realm, why can't I do it? Xiaoping'an asked. As long as you learn the secret method of dividing souls, you can create Horcruxes. Where can I learn this secret technique? This secret method of soul splitting was originally the secret method of the Dream Spirit cult, and many summoners could learn it. However, tens of thousands of years ago, the Dream Spirit cult suddenly collapsed and fell, and the authentic inheritance of the secret method of soul splitting was gone. But it is still there will be some summoners who master it. If you are lucky, you will be able to learn it if you meet these summoners who master the secret method of soul splitting. I heard that the Mangling cult has some ruins and temples in the Void Secret Realm. Among those ruins and temples, among them, there is also the inheritance of the secret method of dividing souls. Oh, that's it, Xiaoping'an nodded, and then asked strangely, by the way, weren't there a few magic wolf mages who were killed by Tuli tonight? Why are those magic wolf mages, no boundary beads exploded? The magic wolf will not emit boundary beads. Generally speaking, only the magic wolf mage who enters the secondary plane will erupt the boundary beads. Only the magic wolf mage who enters the secondary plane will explode the boundary beads. Yeah, as for why this is happening, I don't know. It may involve the secrets of the gods level. Xiaoping'an pondered for a moment, glanced at Yan 11, and with a move of his hand, he took out the box containing the word of gold world beads and the divine mind crystal that had been exploded from Tulai, and threw it away without even looking at it. Yan 11's hand said, here's this for you. It should also increase your divine power a bit. Holding what Xiaoping'an threw over, Yan 11 was stunned for a moment, because he never thought that Xiaoping'an would actually give him a trophy. This was a rare world bead. This was given to me. Yan 11 couldn't believe it. Why, if you don't want to, then bring it. Xiaoping'an curled his lips and reached out to take it. Yan 11 jumped up and took several steps back like lightning. A strange smile suddenly appeared on his face. Of course, I just didn't expect that I could still get something. Just kidding, the summoner's cultivation has reached this point, and he can only progress by relying on rare world beads. Faced with the rare world beads in hand, don't do it, that's a fool. Fangxing is Fangxing, that's because you want to kill me. You deserve to be punished by me. You have to suffer. Even if I kill you, you have to accept your fate. But work is work. Under my hands, you work being beautiful naturally brings rewards. I will not let the people who help me suffer. Xiaoping'an shrugged. Okay, go out if you have nothing to do, and keep an eye on me. By the way, I want to fuse the world pearl tonight. Yan 11 nodded, fearing that Xiaoping'an would regret it, so his whole body instantly turned into a black smoke, got into the ground, and disappeared. As soon as Yangzi left, Xiaoping'an summoned the black dragon, guarded the room, and then began to check tonight's loot. There are probably more than 100,000 gold coins on Tulai's body. In addition to the gold coins, there are also some magical pills and bits and pieces. But the most important thing is the boundary beads on Tulai's body. The boundary beads on Tulai's body, it was definitely not just the 2 he bought at the auction house tonight, but more than 20. The more than 20 world beads were placed in a box dedicated to collecting world beads. Xiaopinggan rubbed his hands with some excitement and opened the boxes one by one to look at them. The Divine Power World Pearl returned to Zhao. Well, it has been fused. Xiaopinggan opened the first box, took a look at the World Pearl inside, and put the box aside. Gong Sun Yi refuses fish. Well, this World Pearl has also been fused. Xiaopinggan opened the second box. The Pathfinding Boundary Bead, the old horse knows the way, this one has also been integrated. Zhengzi killed a pig, the true word World Pearl, this one has also been fused. Yang Chewang seeing this World Pearl is the Playboy's favorite, the Sunmi World Pearl, this has also been integrated. Kangja World Pearl, has been fused. Most of the boundary beads in those boxes were fused by Xiaopinggan. However, when Xiaopinggan was halfway through, a black box opened, and Xiaopinggan's eyes suddenly lit up. In the black box, there was a black boundary bead. Inside the black boundary bead, there was electric light flashing. In the electric light, there were 3 golden characters of Wu Yi Wang in small seals. Seeing the 3 words King Wu Yi and the lightning flashing in the world bead, Xiaopinggan's heart skipped a beat and said secretly, it can't be such a coincidence. In addition to this world bead, there is also a letter signed in this box. Xiaopinggan picked up the signature and read it. Junjian, the wise brother of Tuli. The last time we said goodbye to Dalong Mountain, half of what Brother Tuli had entrusted to him had been settled. Brother, you came across this Divine Thunder World Bead in Tianmenfang City and bought it. The Divine Thunder World Bead is really rare, and with the corresponding Divine Mind Crystal is even rarer. If you get this Divine Thunder World Bead, please don't be greedy for merit and rush into fusion. You must know that although the Divine Thunder is strong, if this World Bead is not combined with the Divine Mind Crystal, it will be rashly fused. Almost no one who can succeed, and nearly half of those who fail die. When practicing as a summoner, avoid the word urgent. The 5 Thunder Masters, whom the wise brother envied and respected, first obtained a Divine Thunder World Bead, but he also endured the search for more than 20 years before he obtained the one corresponding to this World Bead. After the Divine Sense Crystal was fused together, he gained the title of Lord of 5 Thunders. Now that the magic door is wide open, the secret realms of the void are beginning to appear one after another. More and more rare world beads and spiritual thoughts crystals will surely emerge. Please wait patiently until you get the corresponding spiritual thoughts crystal and then fuse this divine spirit. Thunder World Pearl, when the time comes, Xiandi can summon the divine thunder, and his strength will definitely reach a higher level. In addition, Brother, you had already received the news last time about the spiritual crystal of the Rune Master's World Pearl that Xiandi wanted, but he was taken away a step later. However, Brother, you has recently learned the whereabouts of the person who bought the Rune Master's spiritual crystal. If he can buy it from that person, and the foolish brother will give it to the wise brother. This letter was signed only with the word Brother you. It seemed that it was sent by a person with you in his name who was brother to Tu Lai. Moreover, from this letter, Xiaopinggan also saw Tu Lai's ambition to become a rune master and master the summoning of divine thunder. This ambition may have been inspired by the 5 Thunder Lords mentioned in the letter. It's just a pity that for Tuli, even if he has the Divine Thunder World Pearl in his hand, if he wants to summon the Divine Thunder, he still has to wait for the corresponding Divine Sense Crystal. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 349. As soon as Xiaopinggan opened his eyes, he found himself walking on a bustling street. The street was crowded with people and busy with traffic. The buildings on the street had cornices and brackets. Listening to the people talking on the street, their words were full of strong emotions. The thick Henan accent makes you feel friendly. In addition, he was accompanied by 2 government servants wearing soap clothes and hanging swords. The passers-by on the surrounding streets looked at him with a sense of awe. Is this Luoyang during the reign of Emperor Guangguo? Xiaopinggan looked at the buildings and customs on the street, and an idea came to his mind. Yes, the world bead he is integrating now is the world bead of the Vajranek. His current identity is Dongxian. Dongxian at this moment is the Luoyang order, which is the local governor of Luoyang. You can tell by looking at the buildings on both sides of the street. The city is full of various government offices, taikang, arsenals, markets, and the residences of dignitaries. In Luoyang, there are many wealthy businessmen, emperors, relatives, and many of them have hands and eyes that can reach the sky. It is not that easy to do this Luoyang order well. Just as Xiaopingyan was looking at the scenery on the street, at the corner of the street in front, a young man in government uniforms ran towards here, panting and flushed. As soon as the Yamen officer turned the corner, he saw Xiaopingyan who was patrolling the street. Then he rushed towards Xiaopingyan without thinking. He didn't even have time to take a break and quickly reported. Lord Qi, no. It's not good, there is someone killing someone on the street in Kongwenfang ahead. Xiaopingyan said happily, here it comes. How brave, someone actually dares to kill people in the street, take me over there and have a look. Yes. The Yamen officer turned around, trotted, and led Xiaopingyan towards Kongwenfang. During the Eastern Han Dynasty, Luoyang city already had a prosperous atmosphere. The city is 6 miles and 11 steps east and west, and 9 miles and 100 steps north and south. The entire city's urban area has been about 10 square kilometers, and it is divided into 12 city gates. There are towering double towers on both sides of each city gate, which can be seen even in the city. The city area is divided into a number of rectangular or square lanes. Under the leadership of the Yamen servant, Xiaopingyan walked as fast as flying and spread his legs. In less than a few minutes, he arrived at Kongwenfang where the incident occurred. A group of people gathered around the street, all watching the excitement, but because people were dead, they did not dare to come over. They just watched from a distance, and everyone was talking about it. Some people had a look of fear on their faces, many of them the people passing by didn't even dare to look, and walked quickly by with their eyes covered. A man carrying a burden was lying on the street, blood flowing all over the ground, and some dried fruits carried in the burden were also scattered all over the ground. 2 government officials stood nearby to maintain order. Seeing Xiaopingyan and his people striding over, they breathed a sigh of relief. When Xiaopingyan came here, he squatted down next to the man who fell on the ground and took a look. The man who fell on the ground was in his 30s. He looked like a salesman selling preserved fruits. His face was full of the vicissitudes of life. He had lost a lot of blood. His face and lips have turned a little white. There are 2 fatal wounds on the man's body, one on his neck and one on the right side of his chest. Judging from the wounds, he should have been killed by a sharp instrument such as a sword. What's going on here? Who is this person and why was he killed? Xiaopingyan stood up and asked the 2 government officials guarding here. Master Qi, this person's name is Li Xiaoman. He is a citizen of Kongwenfang and sells preserved fruits for a living. According to the people around him, just now Li Man was carrying a load on the street, and there was a man whipping his horse and riding fast on the street. Li Xiaoman overturned Li Xiaoman's burden, but Li Xiaoman refused to obey, so he pulled the man's horse. Unexpectedly, the man was extremely arrogant and hit him when he got off the horse. The 2 struggled for a while, and the man pulled out the knife from his waist and killed Li Xiaoman. Killed, and then ran away on horseback. A few of us patrolled here just now. When we saw people watching and gathering here, we hurried over. You actually dare to kill people in the city in broad daylight. Who is the murderer? Xiaopingyan said angrily. According to the neighbors, the person who killed the person was Princess Huiyang's old man. After that person killed someone, someone saw him running to the princess's house. The officer who spoke mentioned Princess Huang, his voice. They all lowered their heads unconsciously, looked at Xiaopinggan with some anxiety, and carefully looked at Xiaopinggan's face. Princess Huang, everyone in Luoyang knows that she is your majesty's biological sister. She lived with your majesty before you ascended the throne. When you meet her, your majesty will be in awe of this person. This person beside Princess Huang. If someone kills someone, who dares to catch him? Xiaopinggan knew that the Kangtu mentioned by the Yamen officer was equivalent to a servant or follower in the Han dynasty. He could ride a horse and carry a sword in the city. He was a favored person around Princess Huang, not an ordinary servant. Call the neighbors who saw the murder, and I will ask them personally. Yes. Several government officials called over the neighbors who had witnessed the incident. Xiaopinggan personally inquired about it and found out what happened and the identity of the murderer. The murderer was the Kangtu next to Princess Huang. Asking a government official to notify the family of the murdered man to collect the body, Xiaopinggan turned around and took the people back to the government office without saying a word. Xiaopinggan, who returned to the government office, signed the arrest document according to the procedures and asked the government office team leader to take people to Princess Huang's house to arrest the murderer, while he sat in the government office and waited. A few hours later, the arrest squad leader and a few depressed and disgraced people from the government office came back. Naturally, the murderer was not brought with him. Sir, when we arrived at Princess Huang's residence, we knocked on the door and explained our intention. The doorman of Princess Huang's residence chased us away. He also cursed us and threw out the arrest document signed by Your Excellency. They won't let us into the mansion at all. The head of the government office lowered his head and said with a look of shame on his face. Okay, I understand, thank you all. My subordinates are incompetent. This incident was expected, and Xiaopinggan was not in a hurry. Instead, he comforted the government officials who were on the mission, and then said generously, it is only right to kill people to pay for their lives. As the order of Luoyang, I must uphold justice for the people of Luoyang. No matter who is the person next to Princess Huang, I will kill that person. That person cannot hide in Princess Huang's house all his life. Princess Huang likes to go on tours. Every time Princess Huang goes on tour, she always leaves the house. Take Kangtu with you. I estimate that in a few days, Princess Huang will definitely go out for a parade. From now on, you will send people to keep an eye on Princess Huang's mansion. As long as Princess Huang goes on tour, take that person out. Princess Mansion, please come and notify me immediately. The team leaders in this government office are all local gangsters in Luoyang. They don't have the ability and courage to break into the princess's mansion, but it is not difficult for them to keep an eye on every move in the princess's mansion. Several government servants were very angry at the princess's house, and they were already angry. When they saw that Xiaopinggan wanted to severely punish the Kangtu who killed people in the Huang princess house, they all bowed to accept the order and patted their chests in front of Xiaopinggan and promised that as long as if that person dares to leave the princess mansion, Master Dong will definitely know about it. Xiaopinggan was waiting in the government office, taking the time to sharpen the Han sword he was wearing so that the light could be used to identify people. Seeing Xiaopinggan sharpening his sword, the government officials became even more motivated. This wait is 5 days. On the morning of the 5th day, a government official rushed to the government office to report that Princess Huang was going on a trip today with a large number of entourage. The Kangtu who had killed people a few days ago also followed Princess Huang out of the princess's mansion again. Commanders and Yamen officers, follow me to hunt down the murderer, Xiaopinggan shouted in the courtroom, put the sharpened Han sword on his waist, took the lead, and strode out of the Yamen office. Seeing that the chief was so awesome, none of the government officials in the government office flinched. They all shouted, armed with sticks and swords, and more than 10 people followed Xiaopinggan out of the door in a majestic manner. Half an hour later, on the streets of Luoyang City, Xiaopinggan stopped the carriage and horses of Princess Huang and her party. Seeing Princess Huang's carriage and horses approaching, Xiaopinggan blocked the carriage, took out the Han sword in his hand, and drew a line on the street in front of him. The tip of the sword rubbed against the stone slab on the ground, bringing out with a flash of sparks. Xiaopinggan shouted, "Luoyang ordered the arrest of the murderer. Anyone who dares to cross this line and rush into the government office will be an accomplice of the murderer and will be killed without mercy." Xiaopinggan's killing sound was really murderous. Seeing Luoyang Ling staring at him coldly with a sword, and a large group of government servants standing in front, the coachman driving the carriage for Princess Huang broke out in a cold sweat and quickly stopped the carriage. "Dongxian, you are so brave, you dare to stop my carriage." The curtain of the carriage opened, revealing the face of a jeweled and domineering woman. Princess Huang glared at Xiaopinggan, What do you want to do? Do you want to rebel?" Xiaopinggan glanced at the men riding horses behind Princess Huang, and sure enough, she saw a man's face change. The man's appearance was exactly the same as the perpetrator described by the witnesses before. Judging from his expression, judging by his appearance, that person is the murderer. "Princess Huang, as a relative of the emperor, you don't know how to uphold the laws of the Han dynasty. Instead, you cover up the Kangtu in your house to commit murder, harm the people, and trample on the laws of the country. I, Dongxian, will let you know today what the laws of the Han dynasty are." Xiaopinggan spoke righteously and loudly, full of righteousness. Princess Huang changed her face when Xiaopinggan said that and was choked. Xiaopinggan pointed the Han sword in his hand at the princess sitting on the horse. Shouted sternly, "You, get off your horse." The murderous Kangtu had a guilty conscience. When he heard Xiaopinggan's shouts, he rushed towards his face with murderous intent. The horse on his crotch was frightened and stepped back. The man was so frightened that he fell off the horse. Xiaopinggan sprinted forward. In the past, before the man could get up, he cut off the man's head with a sword and killed him in the street. Ah! Everyone around was shocked. Seeing Xiaopinggan kill her Kangtu in the street, Princess Huang turned pale with fright, screamed, and hid in the car. "Dongxian, you wait, I am not done with you." Princess Huang shouted hysterically in the car, turned the carriage and horses around, and walked away from the other side. "Go and report to Li Xiaoman's family. The perpetrator who killed Li Xiaoman has been killed by my officer. He has sacrificed his life for his life. The case is closed." Yes, the Yamen officer looked at Xiaopinggan with admiration, then went to report the news to the family of the victim. Not long after Xiaopinggan returned to the government office, Li Xiaoman's family, including his parents, wife, and 2 children, helped the old and young. With tears streaming down their faces, they came to the government office in person to kowtow to Xiaopinggan and thank him. As soon as Li Xiaoman's family left, a eunuch came to the government office with an imperial edict. His Majesty ordered Dongxian from Luoyang to come to the palace to see him. Xiaopinggan straightened his clothes and followed the eunuch to the palace. In the palace garden, Princess Huang was sobbing in front of a man wearing royal robes. "Uncle, when you hadn't become emperor back then, our family was in decline, and I was the only one taking care of my mother. I had to worry about everything at home and outside. I had suffered all kinds of hardships, and I still had to worry about everything for a day. You are so scared. Originally, I thought I could live a good life for a few days after you became the emperor. But now that you have become the emperor, I am being bullied in the street. As a princess, I don't deserve it, Wu." Lu Xiu looked at her sister helplessly and could only say, "Don't worry, eldest sister, I have sent someone to ask Dongxian to come see me. I will vent your anger on you today." In a pavilion in a garden of the palace, Xiaopinggan saw Emperor Guanggu Lu Xiu, and Princess Huang who was wiping tears and staring at him fiercely next to Lu Xiu. Emperor Guangguo Luxiu had a handsome face and bright and sharp eyes. Seeing Xiaopinggan's arrival, Luxiu's face suddenly darkened. "Dongxian, you are so brave. You dare to collide with Princess Huiyang's carriage. Someone is here, drag Dongxian out and behead him. It would be easy for your majesty to kill me, but could you please let me say a word before you kill me," Xiaopinggan said calmly. "Okay, what can you say? Your majesty restored the Han dynasty, revived the holy virtues, and became a great leader. However, your majesty allowed the slaves to kill the people and trampled on the laws of the Han dynasty. In this way, how can your majesty govern the world and help people's hearts? I don't need your majesty to kill me. I beg to commit suicide." Xiaopinggan finished speaking loudly, gritted his teeth, lowered his head and hit the pillar in the pavilion, and his face was covered with blood. Luxiu was suddenly moved and shocked, and quickly asked the eunuch beside him to hold Xiaopinggan. Luxiu glanced at Princess Huiyang and sighed softly. "Today, as long as you kowtow to Princess Huiyang to apologize, I will spare you and let this matter be over. I'm at a loss, why should I apologize to Princess Huiyang?" Xiaopinggan frowned and refused. When Princess Huiyang saw it, she didn't expect that Dongxian would not even apologize. He could not get down the stairs, and cried beside her. Uncle Wen was a commoner back then, and he was able to protect the people around him, so that the officials did not dare to enter the house and arrest people. Now that Uncle Wen has become the emperor, can't he control a Luoyang order? Luxiu had no choice but to wink at the guard Huang men beside him. Those Huang men eunuchs rushed over, grabbed Xiaopinggan's hand, pressed Xiaopinggan's neck and body, and pulled Xiaopinggan's. He pressed his head to the ground and insisted on Xiaopinggan bending his neck to kowtow to Princess Huiyang to apologize. Xiaopinggan tensed up his whole body and allowed the eunuchs to use all their strength to push him hard without bowing their heads or bending their necks. Seeing that Xiaopinggan could not be made to bow his head and admit his mistake, Luxiu opened his hands to Princess Huiyang and said, "Sister, this person has a strong xiangqiang. He is not afraid of death and does not bow his head because of his strong xiangqiang. His neck is so hard that there is nothing I can do. Even if I am the emperor, I can't help him." Seeing this situation, Princess Huiyang had no choice but to throw away her sleeves and leave. After Princess Huiyang left, Luxiu looked at Xiaopinggan and smiled, gave Xiaopinggan 300,000 yuan and asked Huangman to send Xiaopinggan out of the palace. As soon as he stepped out of the palace, Jizhu's world suddenly shattered. Xiaopinggan in the room opened his eyes and let out a long breath. It had been a long time since he had merged with the boundary pearl. This feeling of divine power empowering the body is really nostalgic. This world bead increased the divine power in his secret mandala by 42 points. This time, the upper limit of the secret mandala's divine power directly reached 5,798 points. In addition to the increased divine power, Xiaopinggan also received the magical skill of King Kong Neck. Xiaopinggan spent 10 points of divine power to bless himself with a King Kong Neck. He only felt his neck getting warm, and the blessing was completed. He touched his neck, and there seemed to be no change at all in the feel. There is no stiffness in the neck either. Xiaopinggan thought for a while, took out a knife from the space warehouse, and slashed hard at his neck. A crisp sound of dang. Xiaopinggan only felt a slight shock on his neck, but not a single hair fell out. The knife that was slashing at his neck was blocked, and the blade broke a hole the size of a grain of rice. A smile suddenly appeared on Xiaopinggan's face. This King Kong neck is really useful. When fighting, he cast one on himself. The vital points on his neck that were most afraid of being attacked were completely immune to attacks. This world bead. Yes, I would also like to thank Mr. Dongxian, the leader of the strong field, for being able to leave such a world pearl to future generations. It didn't take long to fuse this world bead. Xiaopinggan then took out the Haoliang's Hibian world bead and continued to fuse it. The keystone of the Haoliang debate is the famous debate between Zhuangzi and Huaizi on the bridge over the Heshui River, where they looked at the fish in the river. For those who know this illusion, it is easier to integrate this world pearl. In just 2 minutes and a few words, the fusion of the world bead was completed. The upper limit of Xiaopingan's secret mandala's divine power increased by 20 points, reaching 5,818 points. After fusing the two world beads, Xiaopingan took out the godly thunder world bead with lightning flashing inside the world bead and began to fuse them. It is estimated that not many people know that the reason why King Wuyi's world pearl can summon divine thunder is because King Wuyi used incredible means to summon God to release divine thunder to strike him. There are all kinds of ridiculous emperors in Chinese history, but someone as weird as King Wuyi, who can summon divine thunder to kill himself, is absolutely unique in the world, and can be called the first person in history to commit suicide. Zhuangzi, who had just been following the natural path of Wuyi for a few minutes, but this godly thunder world pearl was intended to make Xiaopingan a King Wuyi who was completely opposite to Zhuangzi and went against the will of heaven everywhere. It's quite a coincidence that these two world beads can be fused together. Xiaopingan was quickly wrapped in a cocoon of light flashing with electric light. Among the world beads, Xiaopingan opened his eyes and saw a eunuch standing in front of him respectfully. "Your Majesty, all the craftsmen you are looking for have been found. A big chapter of 5,000 words is here, the second chapter will be later today." Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 350. This world bead didn't give Xiaopingan any buffer time. As soon as Xiaopingan opened his eyes, he was faced with the choice of recruiting those craftsmen for what? Ordinary people would definitely be confused if they fused this world bead, because Wu Yi's head is definitely beyond anyone's guess. In the palace of Yin, the capital of the Shang dynasty, Xiaopingan followed the waiters in the palace and saw the craftsmen who had been warned by him. There were about 50 craftsmen. They stood in 2 rows and looked at them nervously. Xiaopingan walked out of the palace. "I have met the king." All the craftsmen saluted Xiaopingan, because Xiaopingan's identity at this moment was the ruler of the Yin Shang dynasty, the supremely authoritative King Wu Yi. "What kind of craftsman are you?" Xiaopingan asked an honest-looking craftsman with thick hands standing in front of him. "I'm a carpenter," replied the craftsman. "And you?" "I'm a leather worker," replied a craftsman next to him. "And you?" "I'm a mason." "And you?" "Coppersmith." These more than 50 people are all the best craftsmen in Yin City. Everyone was gearing up, waiting for Xiaopingan's order. Xiaopingan rubbed his temples. Wu Yi was so outrageous that he had to think about how to give the next orders appropriately. "I want to make a doll. The doll must be the same size as me. It must have a nose, eyes, hands, and feet, and it can wear clothes. In short, the more human-like it looks, the better. By the way, I also need to be in front, build a high platform, and then build a wooden shelf on the high platform. The higher the better, the shelf must be able to lift things up and put them down. Also, the cobbler will make me a lot of skin bags. When they are done, I will weigh them a lot. There is a reward." Upon hearing what King Wu Yi said, the craftsmen became happy, and they all worked hard and got ready to work immediately. Xiaopingan raised his head and looked at the blue sky, praying secretly in his heart. The sky is above, and all the gods are above. He is playing the role of King Wu Yi in this world bead, trying his own way to summon the divine thunder, so that he can do justice for heaven in the future. By the way, it can alert the world and let the world know the principles of respecting heaven and loving others. It is not intended to offend. The great powers in the sky must not use divine thunder to destroy themselves physically and mentally. After praying secretly, Xiaopingan felt a little at ease, and then he waited for the craftsman to present the finished things. "Damn it, this boundary bead is too challenging. You know that there is a cliff ahead of you, but you still have to jump towards the bottom of the cliff." Compared with King Wu Yi, King Zhou Yu, who plays the princes in Feng Guo, is a child. A few days later, the carpenters made the wooden doll Xiaopingan wanted. The doll was life-size, wearing clothes, with eyes, nose, eyebrows, and hair. Then Xiaopinggan played chess with the wooden doll in the palace, and asked the eunuch to stand beside the doll, and said to the eunuch, "This doll is the incarnation of the god. Now the god will not move. You just play chess with me on his behalf to see who is better, me or this god." The eunuch was so frightened that he didn't expect King Wuyi to give such a ridiculous order, but he had to obey King Wuyi's order, so he stood next to the puppet and played chess with Xiaopinggan for the puppet. When the eunuch played chess, he naturally didn't dare to beat King Wuyi. After playing a game of chess, Xiaopinggan won. Xiaopinggan laughed loudly, pointed at the puppet and said, "It doesn't matter if you are a god. I am the number one in the world and the most powerful in the world. You can't beat me in chess." Then, Xiaopinggan took out the whip and whipped the god doll directly, teasing and humiliating him in various ways. Everyone in the palace was frightened and turned pale with fright. The people of the Yin and Shang dynasties were inherently superstitious, and no one thought that King Wuyi made a doll to humiliate the gods. In addition to playing chess, Xiaopinggan took the god doll to compete with all kinds of gambling and tricks in the palace. Of course, Xiaopinggan won every time. Every time he won, the god doll will be beaten and humiliated by Xiaopinggan in various ways. After a few days, the wooden elevated platform in the palace was also built. Xiaopinggan went to see it. The wooden frame and high platform were erected extremely high. It was definitely the tallest man-made building in the entire Yin city. Moreover, there were beams on the wooden frame on the high platform, which could just be used to hoist things up. Then, Xiaopinggan asked someone to put the blood of livestock in a skin bag and hoist it to the elevated structure. He was below the elevated structure, holding a craftsman and shooting arrows into the sky. The arrow hit the skin bag on the elevated structure, and the blood in the skin bag fell from the high wooden frame, flowing down. Xiaopinggan told everyone below that he was shooting the sky with his arrows. If his skin bleeds, it is God who is bleeding. The entire palace was so horrified by King Wuyi's Huzi Wifei that everyone in the palace was in fear and high pressure almost every day. After Xiaopinggan struggled in the palace for several months, autumn came. The crisp autumn air is the season for hunting. As the ruler of the Shang dynasty, hunting is something that cannot be missed. On this day, the weather looked good. Xiaopinggan took the ministers and nobles out of the palace to hunt. They had just arrived at the edge of a large river. Xiaopinggan dismounted and was about to point out where to hunt. Under the clear sky, there was thunder. Suddenly, a dazzling lightning bolt fell from the sky like a dazzling beam of light and struck Xiaopinggan. The surrounding ministers were panicked. When everyone reacted, King Wuyi had no bones left, leaving only a large pit with black smoke on the ground. According to historical records, King Wuyi was struck to death by lightning. King Wuyi was also the only monarch in Chinese history who was struck to death by thunder. His ability to commit suicide was the best in the world. In the room, the light cocoon on Xiaopinggan's body dissipated. Xiaopinggan's chest rose and fell in the light cocoon, and cold sweat flowed from his forehead. His body trembled inadvertently a few times, as if being electrocuted, and finally opened his eyes. That moment was too unexpected. The moment the thunder fell, Xiaopinggan became frightened, thinking that he was going to be destroyed physically and mentally by the power of heaven and earth. At that moment, time seemed to stand still, and the sky was full of murderous intent. The terrible terror of the thunder made people's hearts tremble. Xiaopinggan couldn't help but recall whether he had done anything wrong or harmed anyone in his life until now. Then, the divine thunder fell, and everything in Xiaopinggan's eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind turned into void. After a long time, Xiaopinggan felt that his consciousness returned to himself. This King Wui's world bead directly brought a full 100 points of divine power, which directly pushed the upper limit of divine power in Xiaopinggan's secret mandala to 5,918 points. The secret mandala also has a relief sculpture of King Wei being struck by a thunderbolt. The thunderbolt blasted out from the clear sky in the relief is like a living thing, shining brightly. The two characters thunder and lightning in the Golden Mountain are at the same time. Ignite. Xiaopingan calmed down, got off the bed with his legs crossed, and went directly to the small courtyard of his room. WW. He raised his head and looked at the deep starry sky, his thoughts racing. There are endless mysteries between heaven and earth. Is there really a super will that dominates everything? The end of the summoner's path is to become a god. One day, can I become the being who can reach out and pick off the stars? Xiaopingan stretched out his hand, and a ball of electric light danced between his slender fingers, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. This feeling of mastering the divine thunder is really powerful. Xiaopingan whispered to himself. The biggest feature of the thunder summoning technique is speed. The word quick is the most terrifying. This technique can directly lock the target as soon as it is summoned. It hits the opponent's head, and it's so powerful that it's so terrifying when fighting. It had been a long time since he had been to the spirit world. Xiaopingan was about to go back to the house and wander around the spirit world to see if he could hunt down a few more nightmare insects to replenish his health. Black smoke flashed around him, and Yangzi suddenly emerged from the ground. Tu Lai's death has a great impact. The Genki gang has made big moves and is mobilizing manpower. Oh! Xiaopingan used his remote viewing ability to take a look at the Genki fort from a distance. He found that the Genki fort was brightly lit, and as if facing a formidable enemy, a large number of members of the Genki gang continued to gather in the Genki fort. At the same time, there were also people in the Yishan city. It was a little uneasy, and from time to time there were dark shadows running around on the street. The move to kill Tuli was indeed the right one. The Genki gang is already in a bit of chaos. The fastest website to update the mobile version.